Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Lift. Enjoy watching. Criminal mastermind Cyrus is traveling to an esteemed auction house in Italy with a prearranged strategy. He passes hacker Mi-sun and disguise expert Denton inside, but he acts as though he doesn't know them even though they are on his squad. In the vicinity, an Interpol squad under Abby's leadership is monitoring the situation in case Cyrus makes an attempt. Because she dated Cyrus for a week without realizing he was a wanted felon, Abby is enraged. Luke the engineer and Magnus the safecracker, two members of the crew, are setting up shop in London concurrently with this auction. After Malson purchases the first artwork for $11 million back in Venice, the presenter introduces the artist N8, whose NFT is up for sale next. It's a mask composed of 482 cameras that will produce a live, 30-second feed of the transaction along with an NFT modeled by Van Gogh's aesthetic. Abby assumes Cyrus knows her team is present since he makes a big offer right away. After trying to outbid Malson, he and Denton set off an alarm after the deal is completed. When people begin leaving the auction house, Abby becomes suspicious and sends her squad inside. While the alarm is going off in London, Magnus tinkers with an electronic lock to enter the storage and steal a pricey painting. Luke finds it when he tosses it into the water while it's still within a tube. Returning to Cyrus, he invites N8 to visit his boat in order to complete the deal. They depart by the rear entrance, where a boat with pilot Camila waiting for them. When Abby gets there, they've already left, and she understands that since an NFT cannot be taken physically, they've taken the artist instead. Mi-sun smashes into many boats to obstruct her path as she dashes outdoors to attempt to pursue them on another boat. Camila starts driving quickly and making sharp turns to slow Abby down, but she doesn't give up and boards another boat. They arrive at the sea, where Mi-sun sets up a barrier that lets Camila pass through in time while keeping Abby behind. Upon arriving at the boat, the squad pays N8 the 20 million NFT and begins celebrating. After seeing the surveillance footage, Abby and her group realize that Denton has been pretending to have a limp, so she dispatches her men to find him. The abduction of N8 is reported on the news the next morning. When N8 learns that these individuals are criminals, he worries out, but Cyrus swiftly clarifies the situation. They took inspiration from the Mona Lisa, which gained value only after it was stolen. Magnus and Luke sold the painting for $20 million, allowing Cyrus to purchase the NFT from N8, and now that it has vanished, the NFT is valued at $89 million. N8, who complies gladly, will split the money with Cyrus. In the meantime, Abby has a photo confirming he knows Cyrus, and Denton has been placed under arrest by Interpol. Cyrus sends her a box containing his paddle from the auction and photos from their week together, which she opens while trying to question him. Angry, Abby makes the decision to take Denton to London. Abby meets Huxley at the British headquarters, and he wants to make Cyrus an offer. Abby first declines as she has been pursuing Cyrus for a full year, but Huxley has an assignment that must get done. Despite having killed hundreds of people for money, Jorgensen is an extremely dangerous criminal who has never been apprehended. After catching a mole at last, Huxley discovered that Jorgensen was planning a water strike that would flood a city and murder millions of people in collaboration with the hacking organization Leviathan. Jorgensen will transport the gold payment from London to Zurich in 17 days, as requested by Leviathan. Huxley wants Cyrus to take the gold and thwart the transaction since it is allowed to transport your own gold. Although Abby detests it, she can't help but agree. When Cyrus learns the name Jorgensen in the evening, he declines the position due to his risky nature. This happens after Abby visits him. Abby notes that if Cyrus takes the job, the entire team would have complete immunity, allowing them to visit their families once more. However, Abby also notes that she has Denton, who will pass away in prison. Cyrus will only concur if Abby collaborates with them. Henchman Cormac, meantime, has taken hold of the mole in Ireland and has been torturing him for some time. When the man has had enough, Cormac gives Jorgensen a video call so he can see the traitor being devoured by a dog. Abby releases Denton the next day and meets with the team to discuss the intelligence she has. The gold bars will be placed inside a box that will be guarded at both airports. Cyrus determines, after much deliberation, that they ought to take the entire aircraft, i.e., utilize a second aircraft to switch the radar signature. They visit Malson to borrow his private plane as they will need one to do this. When Abby points out that Malson has been flying illegally and gives him his badge, he swiftly agrees to cooperate, even though he first refuses. Next, Malson highlights some of the jet's features, such as a concealed pole and a screen behind it, and describes how everything is operated by a remote. After that, Abby conceals the jet by hiding it in an Interpol hangar, making it appear to be an old, unremarkable aircraft. Denton is already experimenting out various beards and wigs, and Magnus is working on tweaking his vault-breaking laser to make it function on an aircraft even in the presence of turbulence. Cyrus has an idea. Luke will install all of the NFT's cameras on the jet so Camila can have complete views surrounding the aircraft. Camila is having some difficulty with the simulation where she must move the jet beneath the gold plane. Mi-sun has a software that allows it to mislead air traffic control by intercepting GPS communications. The problem is that it is difficult to intercept both the jet and the plane at the same time while they are traveling at such high speeds. Two planes using the same signal will be seen by someone at traffic control, but fortunately Abby knows someone. Later on, Harry, an Interpol informant who works in air traffic control, meets with Abby and Cyrus. Harry agrees to Cyrus's offer of $1 million immediately after Cyrus makes it after Abby fails to persuade him to assist with the helping others argument. When the two later meet with Huxley, he informs them that the bank will move the gold in 10 days as opposed to 17 because they discovered the mole dead. Huxley gets into a fight with Cyrus because he feels that there isn't enough time and he wants to go. Cyrus agrees to remain for Abby when she reminds them that the purpose of this is to save lives. This silences them both. The team is at the hangar when they watch the news and learn that Madrid has been heavily flooded due to cyber-terrorist attacks on the city's water infrastructure. So far, 13 people have died, but the number is expected to rise rapidly. Though Luke seems reluctant, the crew agrees they must stop Jorgensen since they believe it has become too hazardous, and Cyrus attempts to resign again. Jorgensen thanks Leviathan at his house for their brief display. Mi-sun finally completes the gadget that would hack the plane's GPS, but sadly, it appears to be a bomb. All they can do is select a couple of them to take the parts on board the aircraft and put the gadget back together. Over the course of the following 10 days, the crew puts in a lot of effort to complete all the details, conceal the plane, rehearse gadget assembly, and complete all of their tasks in perfect time. When the big day finally arrives, Cyrus and Abby pretend to board the plane as a couple in first class, while the other members of the team are dispersed across the other sections. To keep an eye on the gold are Cormac and 4 other henchmen. As a means of communication, the squad wears covert communicators, and Cyrus notices that Luke isn't responding. When he picks up the phone, he finds out that Luke opted to abandon the mission because he was too afraid of Jorgensen. Camila on the jet takes off at the same time as the aircraft. Mi-sun uses her laptop to gain access to the plane's data and learns that Jorgensen's goons are on board, so they must proceed with caution. The team members walk into the toilet one by one to conceal the parts of the contraption, and Abby enters to assemble it. She needs to move quickly since Camila will be there in 5 minutes. Abby rapidly assembles the gadget, but just as she is ready to conceal it under a lamp, it falls and disintegrates. Cyrus quickly realizes that she is taking too long and goes to the restroom to assist her. Henchman Donald knocks on the door at that very time, raising suspicions. Abby responds by creating noises, giving the impression that they're going above and beyond to keep him away. In the meantime, Camila's cameras experience signal failure due to turbulence. Before time runs out, Camila makes a last-minute maneuver and puts the jet directly beneath the aircraft, breaking yet another camera. The same signal displays twice on the traffic control computers since the equipment is not yet ready, so Harry needs to pretend to be harassed by a coworker in order to divert her attention. Fortunately, Abby and Cyrus complete the assembly at that precise moment, and the gadget infiltrates the aircraft, causing the second signal to vanish. Cyrus hides the gadget and then gives Abby a kiss in celebration. Harry then gives the pilots a call, telling them of a fictitious storm and instructing them to alter their route to a private airstrip in the Alps. The pilots take it as gospel and take off, but Camila sends out a drone to fool the other traffic computers by maintaining the signal on its original trajectory. The henchmen prepare for action when the pilots inform the passengers about the change. In the meantime, Denton pretends to be ill in order to divert the attention of the stewardess, allowing Magnus to stealthily enter the cargo area with one of his oxygen tanks. Magnus dons an oxygen mask and unlocks the gold lock container after Mi-sun disables the Wi-Fi and hacks into the lock. The gold strikes him with a pressure differential and causes the plane to tremble a bit. It will take some time for the laser to reach the gold, and the goons are lining up. Abby witnesses Donald kidnapping a stewardess with his gun in an attempt to force her to access the cockpit. When the laser causes the plane to tremble once again, Cyrus seizes the opportunity to confront Donald, who retaliates by firing back. As the second henchman approaches, Cyrus starts tossing sacks at him in self-defense and leaps on him to take away his weapons. Abby jumps on this man and begins beating him up as Cyrus engages Donald in hand-to-hand combat. Magnus' use of the laser causes the plane to tremble more and more, causing both fighters to start tripping everywhere. When Abby pushes a cabinet and Donald tries to choke Cyrus with a phone cord, both of the henchmen dodge out of the way, and the cabinet falls downstairs with Cyrus and the stewardess within. Magnus eventually opens the safe and gets to the gold at that precise moment. Donald gets his pistol back after Abby takes down the other henchman, but before he can fire, Cyrus hits him with a piece of glass, knocking him unconscious. Then, as Cyrus and Abby attempt to go to Magnus, Cormac and his rifle block their path. The plane abruptly lands at its new location, and because the ground is frozen, it begins to slide about and won't stop until it is covered in snow. Soon after, Camila lands with the jet as well, and she has to work extra hard to stop it from slipping just in time to avoid hitting the aircraft. Abby, Cyrus, Magnus, and Camila are taken prisoner by Cormac and his 2 soldiers. Cormac pledges to deliver the gold himself after phoning Jorgensen to make sure it's okay. Despite Cyrus's best efforts to get him to take the train as originally intended, Cormac decides to take the aircraft and brings the whole team, minus Magnus, with him. Shortly after, Camilla is operating the aircraft as directed by Cormac, but she pushes a button to communicate with her comrades. After Cyrus and Abby fasten their seatbelts, Camilla takes to the controls of the plane like a crazy person, causing it to tremble and acting as though the gold is unsteadying them. The metal coverings are being gradually removed by all the shaking, which will aid in the jet's recovery. Magnus strikes his captor and takes the pistol back in the Alps, only to set it down and attempt to flee. Just as Magnus had intended, the pistol malfunctions and injures the henchman's hand when he snatches it and attempts to fire. When Huxley realizes the gold isn't arriving at the train station, his buddy tells him the plan didn't work and the gold is now flying to Jorgensen's villa. Huxley, not caring whether Abby perishes in the process, decides to phone the NATO and inform them about a terrorist danger that has to be eliminated. Jorgensen meets with the Leviathan leaders as the military planes take off, feigning that he planned the gold delay to divert attention from the authorities. Harry alerts the authorities to the presence of civilians on board as the NATO planes soon encircle the team's aircraft. Nevertheless, Huxley orders its destruction while lying and claiming it isn't true. Cyrus, in a desperate attempt to disarm the goons, triggers the pole, and he and Abby engage in combat with them everywhere. Abby succeeds in grabbing the remote control during the battle and uses it to make the phrase "civilian hostages on board" appear on the large screen beneath the aircraft. Subsequently, Camilla does a daring maneuver by inverting the jet to get the information to the soldiers, who promptly deactivate the rockets. After the other jets have taken off, a goon intimidates Camilla into making amends. After repositioning the plane, she fights the bandit, who promptly throws her back onto her seat, fractures her wrist, and tells her to land. Camilla pulls a lever while feigning to be the pilot, sending the plane plummeting rapidly. Abby lunges for the lever once again and opens the door, sending Cormac hurtling out of the plane before she shuts it again as Cyrus keeps Cormac at bay. After that, the two dash to the cockpit where they take over the controls as Camilla is unable to fly due to a broken wrist. Though they are able to stop the plane from falling, the hydraulic pump is damaged as another metal component comes away. The jet lands in Jorgensen's lawn after Camilla, still in pain, does her best to control it with the engines. However, it rolls down the road for a while and keeps collapsing until it tips over. The moment the gold drops from the aircraft, Cyrus, Camilla, and Abby find themselves encircled by Jorgensen's bodyguards. Cyrus notes that the camera is still operational and brings up the NTF they observed at the auction, indicating that Nissan should begin hacking. Jorgensen arrives with a pistol to question them, but just then, the Leviathan leader receives a message alerting her about Interpol, so she breaks off the agreement. Jorgensen is so enraged that he shoots her leg and then shoots her twice to murder her when she refuses to repair the bargain. Subsequently, Cyrus poses as the Interpol agent in response to Jorgensen's question. The Italian police show up and round him before Jorgensen has the chance to shoot him. Cyrus signals to Mi-sun to play the footage of Jorgensen shooting the woman, and Jorgensen pretends he merely pulled out his revolver in self-defense when some weird people landed in his yard. Huxley and another agent arrive by helicopter as Jorgensen is being apprehended. After finding out from the agent that Huxley nearly caused their shooting, Abby hits him and declares her resignation. Shortly after, Abby boards the boat that Cyrus and Camilla are departing on. A few weeks later, Abby is taken aback when Cyrus purchases her childhood house again. He also discloses a significant detail: Luke never gave up, he was only on a side quest to pilfer the riches. During the battle, Magnus traded the gold for the fictitious cargo and tossed the genuine gold bars out of the plane since he had produced a quantity of false gold bars and transported them on the same plane. Huxley was incensed that Luke was stranded with worthless metal while he was in the Alps using a remote control to make the gold land safely. Now that Cyrus and Abby are back with the group at a lake, they extract gold from the water using the remote control. Cyrus gives Abby a kiss to welcome her to the squad after she accepts to play.